also made the trip here worth it to see Phyllis Schlafly in the very front. The original smart girl. Thank you for all you've done. People wonder how it is that I do what I do with ADD. And how I got up here with about 2 minutes to spare. I'll just give you an example, and I don't know how it's going to play itself out, but I guarantee you that it will. It's people power. People start feeling sorry for me. He can't carry this load all by himself. In fact, he can't carry his own load by himself. So people, like in the middle of speeches, I lose train of thought, and I tell people, I have this problem. Somebody be there to tell me where I was going with this thing, and eventually people help me. And this is how this new media revolution has taken fold. Basically, I said I wanted to take the country back. I wanted to go after the mainstream media. I started to tell a few people, and people started saying, Andrew can't do it alone, nor can he do it because he's so addled in ADD. So people become innately helpful. They're like literally, it's crazy. And so it happened to me. I have a 12-year-old son who's traveling with me, and I haven't even trained him to do this. This is an instinct because I'm his father, but he's the one who's fathering me on this road trip that we've taken from Grand Rapids to here. And I was disheveled. I was finally taking a shower. I checked in here at 1. I got into my room finally at around 6 o'clock. Don't know how that worked out. And Samson took the first shower, which is, I'm fine with it, Samson, if you're here. I'm perfectly fine with that. But there was only one towel in the room. So I'm like, I have to speak, and I need to have, in this weather, like a fresh towel. So I'm just waiting there, going, what's going to happen? And Samson came up, and he said I was in the elevator, and going down to get the towel, when some lady in the elevator says, I hope that Breitbart isn't going to play it stupid tonight. Who was that woman? This is how I do it. I've got ears all over the place. And he said, I'll show you this lady, Andrew. Well, where was your video camera? You weren't playing by my rules, son. You'd have video of this lady in the elevator if you really knew what you were doing, kid. So, it's been a people's revolution the last 2 years, and the two most important components of that revolution, and this isn't me indulging this audience, this is just pure observation, having traveled probably to at least 30 of our 57 states. And the observation that I would make is, and no offense to the men in the room, myself included, but political correctness has made us a nation of eunuchs. And there aren't that many men who aren't afraid of the cameras and the mainstream media and of political power. And so ultimately what I think has happened is the women said, to hell with it, if you're not going to save the country, we're going to save it for you. They took Mrs. Schlafly's lead. I think that she taught us that it could be done, and it could be one person fighting the fight. And every single Tea Party I've gone to, every single Tea Party event I've got at the Sam Adams Alliance, at their big award, that's where I met Jamie, who just spoke, Jamie Radke. And I remember listening to her speak, and I'm not an emotional person, and this weird flow of liquid started like amassing. Like, what's going on here? And is that I sensed the passion in the room of mothers and wives who are doing for this country for whatever reason, the men of this country can't do. Maybe because some of them are at work, working from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the morning in order to take care of the family and the debt. I don't know what it is. A lot of women who I've met who are working a full-time job and doing this. I don't know what it is, but it's happening, and it's a phenomenon that I want to honor, and that's why I took a road trip from Grand Rapids with Samson to come down here, is to thank you for what the women have done over the last 2 years. There would not have been a 2010 if it wasn't for the female leadership in the Tea Party, period. I would say that Phyllis Schlafly, if Phyllis Schlafly had a goth kind of veneer, and we're into hard rock, and wore kind of leather Wonder Woman bracelets, it would be Dana Ladd. And the other thing you see, the Darwinian chart, like, I really do want to see the flow chart of Phyllis Schlafly to Dana Ladd, because you guys have the same exact fighting spirit. And the reason, you have no idea, when I started the big sites, I had no idea what it was going to become. It was an organic experience. I didn't realize that the requirement was that you had to have the fight in you. And so she was the one that, it wasn't just me that had my eye on Dana. I said, we need her in the bullpen. We need her in the trenches. Is Mike Flynn here?
No, he's not there.
Oh, he's smoking, drinking, slacking, eunuch. But what we wanted was somebody who would be in the trenches and who would fight the fight and would go out. Sometimes I'm like, I can't fight anymore. She goes, come on! What's wrong with you men? And I'm finally in Dana Lash's home territory right now, and I'll be here in 2 weeks for what I think is the other complement of what I think is happening in this country, and it's a movement that the mainstream media wants nothing to do with, and it's just a very difficult thing to deal, because in the media, narrative is everything, and when they lay down the predicate, it is the predicate, and when you are trying to sail against the wind in the mainstream media, it's the most difficult thing, and that's ultimately what the big sites are about. We are out there to say that it's unacceptable that the SEIU, in a preordained action directed from the highest levels of the ACLU in the White House, Jim Messina, Deputy White House Deputy Chief of Staff, saying on the day that Kenneth Gladney was beaten here at the Carnahan rally, that was the day that the White House said punch back twice as hard. That was the day that then head of the AFL-CIO, John Sweeney, sent out a letter to the rank and file to say get in their faces, and get in their faces the union rank and file did. And before we even started big journalism, and before we even were around to basically, we didn't even start big government until a month later with the Acorn story. The Kenneth Gladney beating happened that night. We knew something was going to happen, and then when it happened, a black guy by the name of Kenneth Gladney, 140 pounds, in remission from leukemia and with diabetes, attacked two 230-pound SEIU men. And that's what the courts in St. Louis had to say on the matter. That's the narrative. It's shameful what happened. There were witnesses. There was video of the incident after he was on the ground, not of the actual event, but him on the ground. How did he get there? This was thuggery at play, and the reason why he was attacked, and the reason why he was called the N-word by a black SEIU member is because they falsely perceived that he was a black conservative. He wasn't. He happened to be a capitalist trying to sell "Don't Tread on Me" trinkets. Okay? But he was, and so Dana and Jim Durbin and Adam Sharp and a group of troublemakers in this town who are saying to this establishment here, this godforsaken St. Louis establishment, I don't know how you can even live here under these circumstances. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone. I do have a taster here. I do not understand what is going on in this town, and I don't understand what's going on in Chicago up the Mississippi. Is there a Mississippi in Chicago? No, it's not. I don't know. I know that Hannibal is up the. I don't know. I know David Limbaugh is around, and he lives near the Mississippi Old West. I know. Anyway, you live up the 55, right?
55, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Mississippi 55, big. What's the difference? It's a big body of something. So anyway, Dana and this group of St. Louis troublemakers / patriots decided to fight back on behalf of Kenneth Gladney and his brother Keith. And, you know, I don't think that the battle's over, to be honest with you. It's the same people who are amassing again just within the last week. President Obama's last speech fell on deaf ears within the punditocracy, wondering why did he give this speech. The speech was a message to the rank and file to go out there and protest the next day, and they did, and local stations picked it up, and the nationals really didn't understand what the importance was, but it was to show that when the president, using the bully pulpit, said to go stand up for what what my agenda is here, the rank and file unionistas went out there and got on the local news, and it created a cause and effect. This is what we're up against. We're up against a brutalizing form of community organizing. And I think in St. Louis, everybody here knows what that's been like. And the reason why we started big journalism with Mike Flynn and big government with Mike Flynn and big journalism with Dana was to fight back against these brutal folk. I don't know what, the president calls everyone folk, so the brutalizing force of folk. And I said, okay, he just uses that term to try and mollify, I don't know, just something I've analyzed. I said the first thing I noticed was the female aspect of the Tea Party. But there's a secondary aspect of the Tea Party that needs to be cultivated over the next 2 years. And I think that maybe Kenneth Gladney, though probably apolitical, 2 years ago maybe has seen the light. And every Tea Party I've gone to, the 30 or so Tea Parties I've gone to in many, many states, what I've noticed is mostly women leadership, and the best speakers tend to be African American conservatives who are the boldest, most courageous people out there. And I think that the reason why you hear the mainstream media fighting the way it does against the Tea Party is because they see that. Is that when they go there with their cameras looking for somebody up at the podium to say something racist or sexist or homophobic, what they get in return is common sense. And so they've gone so far as to create an organization called what's called Infest the Tea Party. Tea Party Crashers. There's just a whole bunch of them because they failed so miserably to find what they were looking for. They had to create crashers to go in to try and pretend to be Nazis and to try and create the perception that we are what they want us to be, which is something that we're not, if that makes sense, Samson, or anyone listening. And think about it. Nobody's written a Tina Brown Newsweek front page essay on this phenomenon. If a reporter went Tea Party to Tea Party to Tea Party, they would realize, what's going on here? Why is it being led by women, and why are the strongest advocates for limited government and the stopping of this incessant government grab, why are they African Americans or Latinos? who have seen the devastation wrought by the Democratic Party having absolute control of a city. This city, for instance. New Orleans, where I went to school. I just saw it. I was a liberal when I went to Tulane. I was like, what the hell has gone wrong here? And then I figured it out. It was the Democratic Party had absolute control over it. It's like the government's going to solve this problem. And so I'm here for Q&A tomorrow. I was told I had 10 minutes. I lied. I will never speak for 10 minutes. If you had a gun to my head and bribed me $1 billion, I would go to 23 probably. But I want to tell you, I'm not here to indulge your egos. I'm telling you that you are leading this fight, and we will march behind you. It is the courage of Sarah Palin, it is the courage of Michelle Bachmann that has led this charge, not the courage of John McCain, John Boehner, or Eric Cantor, any of the Republican establishment. Those guys are the followers, you're the leaders, so keep on leading. Thank you very much.